Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here on Tech Bits. Today, if you didn't read the description already, we will be reviewing the NW800 condenser microphone. I'm going to take a pause here in the video to review some of the technical specs of the package that I bought. Now, the NW800 is actually the exact same microphone as the BM800, which you can buy off of various different vendors. But the one that I have here is a cardioid microphone, meaning that it only picks up in one direction, which would be the front. And the one that I also got is, the package anyway, includes the 48 volt phantom power supply, which you will need in order to power this microphone. If you don't know how condenser microphones work, that they require a 48 volt phantom power in order to basically bend the electrical wave into making sound waves. So it ends up making a little bit clearer, crisper sound. The reason I chose to purchase this microphone instead of, say, the NW700, which I was actually a little bit torn on, considering the NW700, when I did a little research, generates a little crisper, cleaner sound. The reason I chose the NW800 would be because the NW800 seems to have a little bit warmer sound. It picks up a little bit better on the highs and the lows. Now, maybe that could just be a little bit of my mind playing with me there, but that is what I'm seeing ultimately with this product. So, without further ado, let's get into unboxing this. Now, I left this package completely closed so that you guys would know that I hadn't opened this and looked to see what was inside of it yet. So, get our knife here and cut this open. Now, opening up the package, the first thing we see is the pop filter. This appears to be a pretty good quality pop filter, along with the windscreen. This pop filter is going to mount right onto the stand, so we'll set that off to the side here. But it looks like pretty good condition. Next up, we actually have the microphone stand. It is spring loaded. It does feel like a pretty good quality. It is, it's got some weight to it. So it also has a couple of adjustable nuts to tighten some of the connections and elbows and moving pieces. A little bit of branding there from Neewer. Now, we also have in the box, looks to be the warranty information in multiple languages, of course. Next up, we have the instruction and quick setup guide, how to install your microphone and the included shock mount and whatnot. Now, you will see on the back of the instructions that it does require 48 volts of phantom power. Next up, we have the XLR to 3.5 millimeter jack. So that'll come in handy later on. You'll see why. Next, out of the box, we have our shock mount. Now, this is a spring-loaded shock mount. It attaches right to the boom arm. So it appears pretty good quality. It's fairly stiff spring. Next, out of the box, we're going to pull out the microphone itself. It's got a very nice gold color on the top of it. Some people might not be a fan, but it's a very clean looking microphone. XLR on the bottom, of course. Yeah, it's got some good weight to it. Most of the weight's in the base of the microphone. Next, out of the box, we have the XLR to XLR microphone, or cable. This is actually going to connect the microphone to the phantom power supply. So, pretty good quality so far. I'm impressed. Next up, we're going to pull out the Neewer power supply. This here actually has a fairly decent weight to it. Of course, your input, your output, locking tabs for both, the power supply button. So next out of the box we have the stand clamp. This is a C-style clamp. Pretty good quality. It's all metal. This seems to be all metal construction for the most part. A lot more than I would expect for $40 on Amazon. Next up we have the, this is the actual power supply for the 48 volt power supply. So it is 18 volts of power and delivers 14 watts worth of energy to the 48 volt power supply. Set the box out of the way here and I'll get everything lined up for you. And so we got the microphone, the XLR to 3mm cable, the pop filter, the windscreen, the shock absorber or shock mount, the C-clamp for the boom arm, XLR to XLR cable. We have the power supply, 48 volt power supply, the 18 volt power supply for the 48 volt power supply, and the boom arm. This to me is a pretty darn good value for $40 plus free shipping on Amazon. So I was really impressed with this purchase here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of set it up on the table. I'm going to show you how everything goes together. First get that power supply brick unwrapped. We'll set it off to the side here and connect it up here in a second. But next I'm actually going to grab the XLR to XLR cable, get that unwrapped. We are going to connect that actually here in a second. We're going to grab this XLR to 3.5mm cable. I'm just getting everything, all the wires separated out and whatnot. So now most people think that you connect your XLR to 3.5mm jack, because some of these microphones do come with that. You would connect that and go straight into your PC, but I will explain why that is not true and why it does require a power supply here in a second. So XLR to XLR cable here from the microphone into the power supply here. So it has a nice, you know, it's a solid connection. It really fits in there well. Now we're going to take that XLR to 3.5mm jack and we're going to plug that into the output of the power supply. This is going to, in theory, give power to our microphone, which it can then bend and send back, and then it'll be the wave will be changed into something that a computer or a external, you know, a DAC can understand. Put the windscreen on here, make sure we get all that gold covered up, just because it looks sleeker like that, but I probably won't ever use it that way. It's nice that they include it though. Got a little antsy here. I have to unplug the microphone and actually plug it back in later, but install our microphone into the shock mount. So we're going to install that with the lettering facing forward, because it is, like I said, a cardioid microphone, so it only cardioid or unidirectional, so it only gets sound from the front. So now we're going to actually attach the shock mount to our boom arm. Like I said before, it is quite stiff. The springs do add quite a bit of tension to it. The only thing I will say is it's not quiet when moving in and out, so that's kind of a negative. But this little chrome piece that you pull out here actually goes inside of the shock mount. It's just clamped into place on the boom arm, but if you see here, there is a brass fitting inside of the shock absorber, which could be taken out to allow the shock mount to fit on other boom arms. Maybe you've already got one for your microphone or whatnot, so and just need the shock mount. But All in all, very impressed with the construction so far. It seems durable. I'm hoping it lasts quite a while. Next up, we are going to install the table clamp onto the boom arm itself. Fits on there snugly. Everything has so far. Like I said, the tolerances are quite nice on this. So you could install your pop filter now, but I'm actually going to wait. That just clamps onto the chrome piece there. And then at that point you would plug in your 18-volt power supply and plug it into the wall. You're essentially ready to record as soon as you plug your 3.5 millimeter jack into your computer. And next up, I'm actually going to show you installing this microphone into my setup. This is previously how I've done videos in the past, where I show everything. I don't leave anything out. Any issues that I come into, I will show you how I resolve them and whatnot. So we're going to actually install this on the back side of the desk. Now, I will say a negative to this style of C-clamp system is that it is quite hard if you are tight on space to reach back behind, say like my desk. My desk is pushed up against the wall, so it was hard for me to reach back around and clamp that on, but your mileage may vary. Once you have that mounted into place, I am going to grab my 48 volt power supply here, place this. I cleaned off a spot on the desk just for this, so it may get moved in the future, but as of right now, this is where it's going to sit. Next up here, I will actually be grabbing the XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable to plug into the output of my power supply and into my computer. I'm actually going to start off by plugging this directly into my computer and seeing how it goes, just so that way I can get a pretty candid view of what this is going to do and give you guys a really unbiased review. This is straight up out of the box. I really don't know anything about this microphone. I've seen a couple reviews on it, but you know, not for the average everyday Joe. That's the thing about me. I buy this stuff myself. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I spend my own hard-earned money on this. Just like you guys, I don't have a ton of money to play with, so I won't be reviewing any $2,000 to $3,000 microphones or headsets or gaming equipment or anything like that. I'm going to be showing you guys, how to do stuff on the cheap and giving you my honest opinions on it. So I'm actually going to plug it into the computer here. And once I have that done, I will grab my XLR to XLR cable, and I'm going to replug it into the power supply, route it through the back so it looks kind of nice, and route it up onto my microphone. Once I have that done, I will actually grab the pop filter here and install that on the boom arm. Now, one thing I did notice about this pop filter is that, and what I'm actually struggling with here a bit, is that it is loose on the clamp, so you're going to have to position it so that either the bendable portion of the wire that holds it up is either up or down in the positioning compared to where it's mounted. Otherwise it's going to slide around all the time. But once we have that done, I'm actually going to grab the 18 volt power supply, if I can ever find it here, and plug it in to the 48 volt power supply. Make sure the power supply is off, of course. First I'll plug it here into the wall. or into the power strip. And then I'm going to plug it into the power supply. Of course, route my cables through the back. And once you have that plugged in, you reach over and hit the power button, and it emits a nice blue light to tell you that it's on. Now, this light could be kind of annoying to some, but I like having the indicator there to know that my power supply is on and my microphone is working. Now at this point I'm going to turn my computer on, and we're actually going to see what happens on screen. Load into Windows here. Now, like I said, this is mostly candid, but I plugged this into my computer and I had some issues. I couldn't quite understand why I wasn't seeing the microphone. I had it plugged into the rear of my computer, and then I plugged it into the front of my computer. What I ultimately had to do was go into Sound Manager and turn on playback and listen to the microphone through the headset that I was wearing at the time. And at that point, I understood that the microphone was working. It was just very, very quiet. Now, with the power supply that came with this microphone, and yes, you can't expect anything more for $40, but what came with this microphone, there are no adjustable gain settings or bass or treble, any mixers or anything like that. You would actually have to buy a 48 volt phantom power supply audio interface. And that's a mouthful, but it would definitely make your life a lot easier in doing such. It'll give more power to the computer, and at this point I was using the internal sound card. I do have a sound card arriving on its way, and that is what I will be using in the future. So now we'll test the microphone, and actually you guys have been listening to this entire video on my microphone setup. It does work very well. I do like the quality. It sounds a lot better than most of the USB mics out there, and you know, any other 3.5 millimeter audio interface. But one thing I did note was that when you plug it directly into the computer itself, it is very, very quiet. If you take that and plug it into a audio card or a USB 3.5 millimeter to USB audio interface DAC or external audio interface, I don't know what it does to this microphone, but it makes it a lot louder. It gets rid of a lot of the background noise, of course, and just stuff like that. I will actually show you a clip now. So guys, this is me talking into the microphone when it's plugged directly into the front of my computer. I actually had to boost the volume in my video editing program in order to get it to about the same volume level, and in doing so increases the amount of noise. I'm not sure why this is, but when you plug it into a 3.5 millimeter to USB jack, it changes the sound dramatically. I will actually be reviewing this jack in another video, probably my next video, but I was pretty impressed with it and what it did. I'm pretty impressed with this mic and what it does. It's not perfect. It does have a little bit of background noise, a little bit of tuning to do, but you know, it was the $40 for this entire starter kit. That's pretty fantastic. One thing I would recommend is that when you buy this, do budget into your build that you're going to need one of these external audio adapters. Now, I purchased mine for only about $10. They're all over the internet for only about $10. Your mileage may vary as far as to how those work, but I thought I'd do a review on this because I hadn't seen any other reviews on the old internet about this particular startup package. And if you're just getting into YouTubing, voiceovers, commentaries, stuff like that, this is probably a great beginner microphone. As far as vocals and singing goes, I'm not one to say I'm not the singing person. I'm not the guitarist. I don't do stuff like that. So as far as those go, your mileage may vary on this microphone, but I saw a lot of reviews out there that said, oh, this microphone's garbage. It's too quiet, too much background noise, whatever. That is most likely due to your audio interface, and you do need an audio interface. I recommend an external audio card because that removes the audio, the actual raw audio input away from the electronics of the computer and limits the amount of electrical disturbance you're going to have. It's going to make it sound a lot clearer, sound a lot nicer. So, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, and until next time guys, stay cool.